Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Let's just dig right into it. Who will Canelo Alvarez fight next in September? That remains to be seen. But, we got one guy possibly eliminated from that mix. This is according to BoxingScene.com. Callum Smith and his manager and trainer, Joe Gallagher, they stated that they've been in recent negotiations with Eddie Hearn, talking about when or they could possibly get the Canelo Alvarez fight. There's been some speculation that they could end up fighting Canelo Alvarez in December. So, there's about a couple of logical fights that could happen for Canelo Alvarez for September, and there's really just three. So the first one is, if Canelo Alvarez can unify the middleweight division and face a Demetrius Andrade, he's a two-weight world champion. He's a top-level fighter as far as being a champion in two divisions. He's undefeated, so he is a very good fighter. He could face Triple G, who they've already been reported and been in negotiations that are stalling out. Triple G's an elite-level fighter. These guys would complete the trilogy, which a lot of people are interested in, so that would be another way to go. And then lastly, there's Jermall Tune-Up Charlo, who would be his mandatory, so that's who possibly could get called to face Canelo Alvarez in September. So, if you look at it, Canelo Alvarez has three interesting options. He could go undisputed, he could have a trilogy, or he could fight a tune-up fight in Jermall Tune-Up Charlo. So he could have any one of those fights, or, because he's pretty much eliminated Callum Smith from the September fight, they're open for a December fight. And, that's a very interesting turn of events. And, let's just go with what Joe Gallagher states, and let's just go off his quote. Now, this is a direct quote. He said, last time I spoke to Eddie, he said there was a possibility it could be December for Canelo. Definitely it isn't this September. But I think to myself, who would Canelo fight if it wasn't this September? So at the end of the day, Canelo Alvarez has a myriad of options. He could go undisputed. He could end up fighting Triple G in a trilogy, or he could end up facing his mandatory in a tune-up fight. Either one, all of those are great options. I'm sure anyone would be interested in any of those fights. I think, when you look at it, I think the most likely fight is for Canelo Alvarez to take on a Demetrius Andrade and go undisputed. I know that there's hiccups with the Triple G fight if it's not in New York, so you would assume that Canelo Alvarez would want to complete the circle and go undisputed. Or if he doesn't, and Triple G and Demetrius Andrade fight for that belt, then I can see Canelo Alvarez facing a Jermall Tune-Up Charlo in September, and then moving on to Callum Smith in December. So that would make a lot of sense to me. And then facing Triple G, Demetrius Andrade, winner first quarter of 2020. That makes the most sense to me. That's what I'm gathering from the information that's coming out, because if you look at it honestly and unbiasedly, if Callum Smith is not, going to be available for September, what's the next big fight? Canelo Alvarez to fight, three top level opponents in 1 year, that would be a lot for any fighter. What fighter fights three top level opponents? So, you typically take a tune up somewhere in there, and Canelo Alvarez just came off of a grueling Danny Jacobs fight where he looked very impressive and he did very well in that fight. And so it would make sense to take a tune-up and then fight a Callum Smith in a higher weight class who's a bigger guy. So wouldn't it make sense to fight a Jermall Tune-Up Charlo at 160 pounds in September? But that's just my opinion. Once again, unbiased as always, it's the IBFP. Please share, like, and you must absolutely subscribe.